Welcome to Activate Your Introvert, the weekly radio show to help you recognise and unlock the entrepreneur skills in your business. In this week's episode, I'm very pleased to interview Tom Albrighton. Tom is the author of Copywriting Made Simple, and his latest book, The Introvert Freelancer, is about to be published on July 6th. Just before that, I'd like to expose the introvert myth of the week. Now, in the next couple of weeks, my latest book is going to hit the marketplace. It's all about running better meetings by engaging your whole team, not inadvertently disengaging the introverts. Because there's a myth floating around that introverts don't like to contribute in meetings. It's rubbish. It's true, introverts are less likely to contribute if the meeting's noisy, random, off topic, serves no purpose, or is discussing things at a superficial level and they feel their more detailed approach is unwanted. But introverts do like contributing if they view their thoughts as worthwhile, partly because introverts, like most others, like to contribute, and partly because introverts really enjoy being part of a team. It helps them feel more relevant. One of the biggest tips I've ever heard back from introverts who want to do well in groups or teams is get a role. Having a role or contributing helps introverts to be part of something useful rather than simply hanging on. So yes, introverts do want to speak in meetings. Do let me know what introvert myth you'd like exposed, or what tip you'd like that would help you to activate the entrepreneurial skills in your business. I'd also love to hear your feedback about this series on the Apple iTunes Store or podchaser.com. Please take a moment after the show. And finally, if you'd like to talk to me about speaking at your conference, virtual or face-to-face, or working with your team, I'd love to hear from you. But now, let's get on with this week's interview. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Really good to have you here. I know that you've just completed your second book, The Freelance Introvert, and I look forward to hearing about that in a moment or two. But first, are you an introvert or an extrovert? And what does that mean to you?
Well, I'm very much an introvert. I think I've always been an introvert my whole life. I've always spent a lot of time alone. I used to do things like writing my own stories when I was a boy. I've always preferred solo activities, so not really into team games, more into things like running and cycling that I can do on my own. My work as a copywriter is something I do on my own. And I generally prefer to work on things alone and reveal them when I'm ready, which I've just done with this book, which people were surprised to suddenly hear about out of nowhere. But that's the way that I do my launches.
Okay, so to you, the key, one of the key things about introvert, and certainly your own experience, is that preference to spend, I don't know if it's a preference or a happiness to spend time working through stuff on your own.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. No, thank you. The freelance introvert. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I started on this soon after I finished my first book, which was Copywriting Made Simple. That was a general guide to my work, trying to write a beginner's introduction to copywriting. It was very enjoyable, but it wasn't very personal, and I wanted to work on a book that was coming more from my own experience, my own feelings, and I just thought, well, I am an introvert and there's an interest in introversion. I can see there's quite a few books out there, but there isn't a lot about making freelancing work. So I thought, well, maybe I can get my work and my personality together and share what I've learned in 15 years freelancing while being an introvert. And I really wanted to make other freelance introverts feel that they're seen and acknowledged, because there's a lot of freelancing that is about putting yourself out there, going beyond the comfort zone, pushing yourself to develop, all these classically extrovert things. I just wanted to say to them, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to feel that you need to change your personality or be a certain way. You can be a successful freelance introvert. And I just wanted to share some ideas and techniques that they might find useful.
Wow, that's brilliant, and certainly very much mirrors a lot of the work that I do, because as you say, a lot of people are told there is one way to get business and one way to run your business, and exactly as you described, it's the extrovert way. Well, hello guys, and certainly by looking through the book, I haven't read it all yet, but looking through the notes of the book, absolutely brilliant, and I think it's going to be a superb read for any introvert that wants to do it their way because they're fed up of trying to do it in the extrovert way. Having written the book, what came across to you as the main skills for introverted freelancers to develop?
Okay, well, starting from the beginning, I think it's really important to know what you want from freelancing. So it's easy to see it as an escape from things that you don't like. So there might be lots of things about a standard employment workplace that you don't like, open plan offices, brainstorming, or all that kind of thing. You basically want to work on your own, and it's about getting away. But you also need to know what you want in a positive sense. So know what you want from freelancing. That's everything from your workspace and the kind of work that you do through to how much money you'd like to make and why you want to do all this. So things like family, friendship, the future, what is it all about, and write that down so you've got a target that you're aiming for. And then when you get into the actual work, I think it's really important to know your own value. So know the unique value that you offer to your clients and set prices accordingly. Excuse me. That's something that might be a bit difficult for freelancers who sometimes are quite retiring, quite diffident about their own value.
It's always a really good question. She says it's one that comes up time and time again. And I know your book has a subject on how to stop yourself self-sabotaging when quoting for work. If you were giving somebody a tip on how to not to self-sabotage, what would that be?
Um, well, in the pricing realm specifically, I think you've got to stay in touch with your own value, as I say, and you've got to not be too introspective and introverted about it to the point where you start second guessing the client. So I think a lot of people have got the price that they'd like to charge, and then they put that in an email and they sit there looking at it for a while. And this is a really difficult point of actually sending off this quote email to a client. It's something that I often shy away from and put off, and I'll procrastinate by doing something else. And sometimes I'll go in and I'll lose confidence and take that price down by £100 or £500, or whatever it is that puts it down to a more modest level. And you're really negotiating with yourself there. You're saying you're negotiating yourself out of a higher price because of what you imagine the client is thinking.
Don't second guess them.
Mm-hmm.
Email the number that you're thinking of in the first place is basically
Yeah,
what you're saying,
absolutely.
I
Put
guess.
the price back up to what you had in the first place. Press send. You will be okay. That's a point of losing control when you send off that email, but it will be okay. And just believe in your own value.
Fabulous, thank you. And what skills could a non-introverted boss, if you like, somebody that's managing a freelancer, are there any skills that you think they could develop to unlock more from introverts?
Sure, yeah. So I'm thinking also about clients here. So, the client is the boss of a freelance.
Very true,
Um,
yeah.
I mean, we don't have a lot of control over what they do, but sometimes we can make suggestions. I would say try and put a time limit on meetings and limit interactions so introverts don't feel trapped. So it could be a meeting or it could even just be a phone call, but one of the feelings that I really don't like as an introvert is this feeling that I've been put in a box of interaction and I can't get out. And as a freelancer, you don't always have the authority to just break out and say, well, I'm stopping this meeting now. So that's one thing I would say is just say, we'll just meet for half an hour and then stick to that.
I love that. No, that's really good. And as you were talking, it reminded me different situation, but socially. Many introverts will go out for the evening with a group of people, and slowly we'll become more tired, shall we say. Our people energy disappears. But one of the things I always find is that if I go out for a party or whatever, I don't mind that at all, unless it's New Year's Eve, when it's expected that we've still got to be there at a
Yeah,
certain time, which is
yeah.
exactly what you're saying with client meetings. So fascinating. Tom, how can people get back in touch with you?
You can follow me on Twitter, where I am Tom Copy. So that's just Tom Copy, all one word. You can connect with me on LinkedIn.
Brilliant, thank you. And the book comes out on Monday, the 6th, I think it is, of July.
Yeah, that's right.
And where can people get the book?
That will be available in print and ebook format on Amazon around the world, and it is only on Amazon.
Brilliant. Tom, it's been marvellous to talk to you. Thanks for the tips, and I look forward to catching up some other time.
No problem. Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Activate Your Introvert, and I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. I'd love to see your reviews on the iTunes store. Thank you once again, and catch up with you next week.